The 10-headed Ravan prayed at Brahma's feet. The 10-headed Ravan prayed at Brahma's feet. Other than monkeys and men, me, none must beat. Once an Asur named Ravan did extraordinary penance, or tapasya, to please God Brahma. Brahma got pleased with him and offered him to ask a boon. To establish his dictatorship over the world, Ravan asked for eternal immortality. But Brahma refused to grant this wish as it was against the principles of nature and told him to ask something else. Ravan was a shrewd diplomat, so he cleverly modified his wish and asked for a boon that none other than humans and monkeys could kill him. He intentionally chose these two exceptions because he used to consider both of them too weak and inferior to be a threat to the Asur clan. Brahma granted him this request. Now, empowered by the blessings of Brahma, Ravan became a superpower. He conquered the three worlds and started torturing beings in all possible ways he could. He, along with his cavalry of Asur, even defeated the Devta, who were considered all powerful. But once he confronted Bali, the monkey king of Kishkinda, and lost to him in fierce combat. For a highly intuitive ruler like Ravan, it did not take long to understand that it was an indication that monkeys were in no way inferior to him. Guided by his innate diplomatic instinct, Ravan wisely made a compromise with Bali and refrained from troubling Kishkinda after that. After his defeat against Bali, Ravan could have realized that his immortality could be challenged, and it was high time that he should mend his evil ways. But his ever-growing ego and pride prevented him from doing so. He continued with his sinister maneuvers and did not even hesitate to abduct Mother Sita, believing that a mere mortal like Lord Ram could do nothing to him. However, he finally received his due chastisement when he got killed by Lord Ram for his unrighteousness. Egoic sense of superiority made Ravan commit the biggest mistake of his life. He underestimated monkeys and humans and was overconfident of his power, which ultimately led to his downfall. The reality which ego fails to understand is that no power is supreme in this world. Everything has a beginning and an end, and nothing is beyond vulnerability. It is essential for human beings to realize this trick of ego before it spoils life. Meaning of freedom from evil is to realize that it is never a good proposition to control, harass, or manipulate others. Whenever the mind ego sends thoughts of superiority, which happens quite frequently, remind yourself the outcome of Ravan. Kumbhakarna story. Now this wretch will gulp the world and still crave. This wretch will gulp the world and still crave. I gave him one day after spending many in dark cave. Ravan's brother Kumbhakarna was also undertaking a severe penance to get bestowed by a boon from Brahma. The sheer size, ferocity, and endless hunger of Kumbhakarna made Brahma apprehensive of his intentions if he is granted a boon. He was worried that such a blessing would encourage him to consume the entire world to gratify his unsatiable hunger and bring atrocities to the world with his violent acts. Devta sensed this dilemma of Brahma. They played a trick by manipulating Kumbhakarna's tongue for a few moments, which made him mispronounce his wish for Indrasan, a state of supreme power, glory, wealth, pleasure, and glamour, as Nidrasan, which is a state of eternal slumber. Brahma was more than happy to grant him that. Kumbhakarna realized the error he had committed. He pleaded for clemency from Brahma and requested him to give him some solace from the state of eternal sleep. Brahma got merciful and allowed him 1 day of awakened state after every 6 months of sleep. When reflected upon the story of Kumbhakarna, it can be realized that he is a personified representation of the unending desires in human beings, which can grow to take a humongous form if not checked and controlled on time. Desires of a man is an outcome of his ego, which makes the man believe that the more of everything is better. That is, one must opt for more power, more pleasure, more wealth, more honor, and so on to be happy. And that is why everybody craves for Indrasan. However, this is nothing but a delusion that has been befooling human beings since time immemorial, as Indra, the actual possessor of Indrasan, desires for Brahmasan, the seat of Brahma. So when even Indra is not satisfied with his present state, where is the end? Where is the satisfaction? The prolonged slumber of Kumbhakarna indicates that obsessive desires need to be quietened. If the being fails in doing so, then at one stage it will transform into a punishment. Blessing of sleep of ego prevented Kumbhakarna from doing wrongful things, induced by the fickleness of mind, and somewhat purified him. Therefore, when Ravan asked him as a brother to fight Lord Ram, Kumbhakarna replied that he would only fight because of brother dharma. He straightforwardly said to Ravan that by abducting Mother Sita, he had committed the ugliest crime. He counseled Ravan to return mother and surrender to Lord Ram. The ever merciful Lord will forgive him, and so Lanka will be saved. But Ravan paid no heed and forced him to fight. Kumbhakarna's freedom from evil thoughts and deeds and his goodness was acknowledged by Shri Ram, and Lord liberated him from Asur Yoni, a miserable state of existence, to the higher state of eternal bliss. Being cannot eliminate desires or the Kumbhakarna in him, as the intent of elimination itself is also a desire. It is, however, possible to surrender all desires in the lotus feet of Lord Ram. Then elimination of desires and purification of being becomes Lord's responsibility. Gyan or knowledge that comes with surrender or samarpan bhav enables the being to realize the true purpose of life. Superiority complex of Ravan. Ravan lifted Kailasha to show his might. Ravan lifted Kailasha to show his might. None in this world can face me in a fight. As Ravan became dominant with the boon from Lord Brahma, he relinquished the spiritual penance and started his journey of malevolent conquest. First of his acts of domination was forcefully marrying a pious lady named Mandodari in the Asur fraternity. She was the possessor of heavenly persona. Such was her divinity that Lord Hanuman mistook her for Mother Sita when he first visited Lanka in search of her. Mandodari was compelled to marry Ravan because of his overbearing influence over her father. After marrying one of the most beautiful women, Ravan's next malicious venture was to capture the grand fort of Lanka from his stepbrother Kuber. He defeated Kuber without much effort and established the capital of his empire centering the fort. These feats did not satiate Ravan's desire for power and possession. He followed the already defeated Kuber to the Himalayas with a huge army to snatch away his magical aircraft Pushpak Viman. There also he achieved success. And while returning, the entourage reached Mount Kailasha, the abode of Lord Shiva. There Ravan performed a contemptuous act by uplifting the Mount Kailasha in his muscular arms as a demonstration of his strength and pride. His action impressed everyone, and he was applauded for his power and courage. The admiration from different corners for his marvelous accomplishment boosted Ravan's ego further. It made him believe that he is invincible and insurmountable and at par with Lord Shiva, if not less. Ego wants to demonstrate qualities and achievements, thereby proving self as superior to others. Ego does not leave the smallest of opportunities to boost in terms of power, beauty, wealth, intelligence, talent, or respect. Doing so, it believes that it will attract more attention, and it is a fact that others' attention is a booster for ego. Urge to show off takes away humility from character and makes one believe that he is the doer of all the successes in his life. Mind is filled with thoughts like I did this and I did that, and as a result, it starts expecting credits for everything. If appreciation is not as expected, mind shoots thoughts of dissatisfaction, frustration, and in extreme cases, insanity and violence. When Ravan was attempting to lift Mount Kailasha, the omnipresent and eternal God Shiva was watching with great amusement. He was already enthralled by the devotion of Ravan and wanted to make his devotee happy. In fact, he lightened the weight of the mountain intentionally so that it became easy for Ravan to complete the task. But proud Ravan failed to see the grace of Lord Shiva and believed that it was he who made the impossible possible. Although later, at the Swayamvar of Janak Nandini Sita, Ravan could not move the bow of God Shiva even by an inch, let alone lifting. This proved that he was not that powerful as he thought himself to be. But Ravan did not accept that and continued believing foolishly that he had unparalleled strength. Ego deludes us from believing and acknowledging grace. Being becomes eligible for grace only after complete surrender of self to the Supreme. Surrender or Samarpan Bhav is to realize that not even a pin can move without grace, and whatever one achieves is because of grace. Now, realization of grace is actually death for ego. Therefore, to obstruct being's acceptance for grace, mind gives irrelevant thoughts that are based on I-ness. That is, I am the doer, I am the achiever, I am the best, and so on. These were the same egoistic thoughts of Ravan, which didn't let him accept Lord Ram as supreme in human avatar. Ultimately, he earned an unfortunate death and misery for his family. Vibhishan, the second brother of Ravan, was a devotee of Supreme Ram. He was no match to Ravan in terms of strength and knowledge, but he was a great devotee who always tried correcting Ravan, and yet the foolish Ravan, the Asur, ousted him from Lanka. Vibhishan then completely surrendered to the lotus feet of Lord Ram. In return, Lord bestowed the throne of Lanka to Vibhishan, and he continued to rule over the region peacefully for the rest of his life. These two brothers, but opposing believers, Vibhishan and Ravan, represent surrender or Samarpan Bhav and ego or Ahankar, respectively. Ravan acted in a most unbecoming manner and committed blunders for which he had to pay a hefty price. Vibhishan, on the other hand, believed in grace and surrendered unconditionally to the Supreme and led a happy and peaceful life. To prevent oneself from getting digressed by ego, one needs to follow the path of surrender or Samarpan. Grace is the cause and effect of every action. The purpose of the birth of a human being is to just make efforts or pushartha to become eligible for grace. Ramayana explains the implications of both ego and surrender in a simple story form. Ultimately, choice is with us. Either to be trapped in ego like Ravan or to attain the greatest treasure, which is bhakti of Lord Ram. Jai Shri Ram.